What about detail? Sweating the small stuff. One of the things that I saw, I was reading that handbook that was
Oh yeah,
linked on the internet, and one of the
yeah,
things I saw throughout that was this real obsession with the 1%
yeah.
and the small stuff. How do you feel about this, by the way, and all of that stuff?
I wrote that with some of my employees when I was probably 22. So there are some things that I'm like, I read, I'm like, oh wow, I was an idiot. But for the most part, most of it still stands the test of time. And I do think it's very helpful. You know, it's funny. A lot of CEOs have actually told me that they make their employees read this.
Yeah, it went around all of our Slack channels.
Yeah,
We all read it.
that's which is funny because I'm like, damn, I should make an updated version of it so everyone. But yeah, the thing is, it's the core crux of it is like extreme ownership and don't make excuses, and people always. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a lot of deja vu from when I was writing that. It was just a different time back then too, because I had no idea what I was doing when I was 21, 22. And I just found that I was constantly teaching people the same things over and over again. And it was always just like, take extreme ownership, take accountability. Like, sure, I guess it was out of your control, but it could have been in your control if you just thought through it more, if you just really cared. And that's what I was just trying to convey in it.
And the other thing that comes through in this, but also all of your work, is just this idea, something that I've learned from you just from speaking to you on the phone yesterday, that nothing is impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
And watching Beast games over the last couple of weeks, but also speaking to some of your team, there's clearly this through line with everything that you do of like what appears to me to be extreme ambition.
Hmm.
And it doesn't appear
Yeah.
to be extreme ambition to you in the same way that it appears to be extreme ambition to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, does physics allow it? Then yes, it's possible. It just do we want to put the time in? I mean, I feel like people overcomplicate a lot of things.
And is
I mean,
that something you've trained over time, or have you always thought that?
no, I think I'm just, it's a good question. I don't know why, but when people tell me I can't do something, and I don't know where this came from. It makes me just want to do it more, to be honest. If you tell me I shouldn't do something, that's fine. But if you tell me I can't, then it's everything in my body just wants to go, fuck you. I obviously can. I don't know if I should, but I can. And then I don't know. It's like the thing is, like, to go viral, you have to do something that's never been done before. I've told this story before of like, if you're driving down the road and you see a cow, who cares? It's a fucking cow. But if you're driving down the road and you see a purple cow, you're like, you've never seen that before, and it's something you weren't expecting. You're gonna go, holy shit. And you're going to go tell your friends about it. You're going to remember that. You'll probably even think about it randomly once every couple of years. Why the fuck was there a purple cow? And it's like, it's the same thing. Just one was a little purple. And it, like, you can apply that same analogy to ideas. Like when you're scrolling through social media to find a video to watch, there's things that, have been done before, you've seen. It's, roughly similar to stuff before. You're just going to scroll past it. You'll never think about it again. Just like you'll never think about a fucking cow on the side of the road. And then there are ideas that are like the purple cow idea, which is what I try to do, which are things that make you go, what the fuck? I've never seen that. Like, I have to click this, or I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight because, like, why is this video? No way they did this, right? But those typically are very hard. And usually, to get that purple cow effect, they've never been done before. And if something's never been done before, there's usually a reason, because it's very fucking hard. Mm-hmm. So you just kind of have to train yourself to, like, not resent very difficult, complex, hard, original problems and actually run towards them, because those are the ones that, tend to have more of the purple cow effect where people have to watch it. And viewership's very exponential. It's way easier to get 50 million views on one video than it is to get 1 million views on 50 videos, right? And so, and because it like kind of goes exponentially, and it's like, pretty winner take all in the top videos, like, you just really have to lean into that purple cow effect, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. If you were to distill, then, say we were coming up with a new How to Succeed in MrBeast's production handbook now, what would be the top 5, if I was applying for a job with you, what 5 characteristics would I need to demonstrate to be successful?
You gotta be very coachable, because whatever I teach you today is gonna change, a year or two from now. Always learning, always improving. Coachable. A big thing for me is you gotta see the value in working here. Like, this isn't like a job. This is a career. Like, if you don't, realistically see a world where you're working for me in 10 years, then it's pretty hard for me to invest into you at the level I want. Like, I don't like training someone for 6 months. They work here for a year and then I lose them. What I like is I train someone for a year and then I get 9 years of dividends on the back end where they crush at their job, and I'm constantly paying them more because they're becoming more valuable with time. Like, that is like the eighth wonder of the world is investing heavily in an employee and then they stick around for a decade. You know what I mean? It's like there are some of my top guys that I spent 3 or 4 years in the trenches with, training and working with. You know, they're like Tyler, who writes a lot of my videos and directs them. I, probably talk to him 5-6 hours a day every day for around 4 years. And now, because I can't he spends 100% of his time writing the videos, directing the videos, obsessed over that. Whereas I could theoretically max spend 5% of my time. So he's going to naturally just shit on me on it because he can spend way more time on it. And it's like, so, I have full faith in him, but the dividends that I get off of him after all those years of pouring all that time and effort into him. And now he knows exactly how I think, what I value, that I don't even really have to communicate with him. Sometimes I can just show up to film and like, I just trust that it's good. And I have a bunch of people across all my businesses like that it's like great. And if, in a world where Tyler's still working here 10 years from now, I mean, the amount of value out of someone like that is unfathomable. It is quite literally the eighth wonder of the world for a business. And it's like, that's what I want. But you only get those kinds of people, they see the value for, working for you. And so they have to like deeply believe like the more valuable I become to this company, the more I'll be rewarded. And they like actually want to dedicate their life to the business. So that's very important, because if I really don't get that vibe, then it's not fair to both of us, because I'm not going to invest in you like I should, because I don't think you're going to be here in 10 years, and then you're going to feel that, and it creates, coachable, sees the value, obviously obsessed. I just don't like working with mediocre people. I mean, I really just can't stand it. It's the fastest way to make me depressed, is if I have to work with someone who's just not all in and just loves what they do. It's just a lot of, stuff like that I'm sure if you listen to like a Steve Jobs interview or something that he talks about, it's just the typical traits: obsessed, coachable, all in, sees the value.
And what is the single worst trait?
Mediocrity. I mean, it's just like, because they're not bad enough where you fire them, but not good. The problem is like, I mean, and you see it in full effect. Great people just love working with great people. They do. And there's something about being around great people that pulls some kind of animal out of you that just makes you want to do more and push more and believe things aren't possible. And I don't know, when you put me around a bunch of other successful entrepreneurs, I just turn into a different human than if you put me around, I don't know, a bunch of people who are just running small businesses and don't really care and don't really have much ambition. I'm like two completely different humans. And you see that same thing in full effect. You put a bunch of A players around more A players, they just build off of each other. But you like put 2 or 3 C players amongst a bunch of great people, and they'll start pulling them down. They'll start making them not want to work as much and make work not as fun. And so everyone knows, get rid of the C players, right? Obviously, get rid of people who aren't all in, blah, blah, blah. It's the ones that are like, they're not an A player, but they're not a C player. So it's kind of hard because you still feed off the energy. And if you get enough of them, it just drags the overall culture down. So those are like the worst. I mean, not everyone can be these like world-ending monsters. There are a lot of mundane things like, I mean, the book controller in accounting, I mean, probably doesn't have to be the best in the world. But, when it comes to like the mission critical things like making videos and things like that, you like just the great people got to be surrounded. Like that's one of your number one jobs as leaders, just to make sure your great people are working with other great people. Cause that's like the number one reason why people leave jobs isn't money. You know what I mean? That's like number 4 on the list. Don't ask me to list them all. I don't remember. I just know the number one thing is, do they enjoy who they're working with? And people will leave their job because they hate working with people way before they'll ever leave because of money.
Have you ever been frustrated that the people you've hired don't match your level of obsession?
No, because I just find the people that do.
Are there people that do?
Oh yeah, there's so many people in my business. I mean, obviously you have to take care of them, pay them well. Like they're not the kind of people that'll just make the standard rate. But yeah, like people like Tyler, Klitzner, Russ, and even people on our editing team. I mean, they're putting in most weeks same amount of hours as me, and they're all in, see the vision. It's like it's hard to find those kinds of people, but when you do, you got to treasure them and recognize that they're unicorns.
And you have almost roughly 500 people?
Probably, I think the production company were around 300, Feastable's around 100, and then probably another 40, 50 scattered amongst everything else.
Most founders that I speak to describe scaling headcounts as the kind of worst part of the job. More people, more problems, right?
Yep, that's an understatement, yep.
Especially as someone like you who's a creative at heart and who is very focused and obsessed on, I guess, the show and producing, as you say often, I want to produce the best videos we possibly can.
Of course.
And then all this other shit comes with it,
yeah.
Which is like HR, which every founder I speak to hates.
I mean, yeah, the worst part is I just have this very once in a I just very rare opportunity where I have so much attention and so many people watch my content, and I just wish I had more experience building businesses. You know, I'm only 26, and this is my first real business. Of every employee milestone we hit, it's my first time hitting that, right? Like when I hit 100 employees, that was my first time getting there. And this was my first time going from 100 to 200, 200, 300. And like with what I know now, I could have done it so much faster, obviously. And it's just, you know, it's a little brutal because like scaling Feastables from, you know, 0 to 100 was way easier than doing my production company because I had been through the ringer before and I learned a bunch and I get better with time. And it's just honestly, the most annoying part is just ignorance, right? Like, because a lot of mistakes I make, I look back and I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably should have brought in people with more experience working at a larger company earlier here. I waited a little too long here. I probably should have. And it's just like brutal because if I had known these things, I'd be way further along. But I mean, that's just how you learn. You just got to make 10,000 mistakes.
Every founder says the same. Every
Yeah.
founder I've spoke to says the same. They're unknown unknowns.
Exactly.
I don't even know what
And
you're
it's just
doing.
like, so that's where, I mean, my big thing recently has just been trying to find people who have successfully scaled businesses and like bring them into my organization and learn from them because I'm just so tired of like being like, fuck, I should have known better, but I didn't because I've never done this before. And so I'm trying to find a lot of great people who have been through it so they can like kind of mentor me along the way so I make less mistakes, which